I know that we all get frustrated sometimes by certain houseplants that we have growing super slowly. And it can sometimes feel like we're putting so much time into taking care of them for them to only grow like 2 leaves a year. And I know that this can be very frustrating. And while with some types of plants this is unavoidable, there are also some plants that can grow very quickly. So if you're sick of houseplants that are just seeming to take forever to grow, then this video is for you. I'm going to show you 11 of the best fast growing houseplants that you can get to grow huge in no time at all. And you know I always save something extra special for the end, and this one is no exception, of course. So make sure you watch until the end to see a very unique houseplant that is not only medicinal, edible, looks great, but is also very fast growing. So stay tuned for that and let's get started. We are starting off with the Baltic Blue Pathos, which is not only one of my favorite of the many different types of pothos, but it is also extremely fast growing. I have one of these that I grew from cuttings I got in the spring, and it's already huge. I've had it for maybe 6 months, and it's probably 6 feet long already. All pothos grow fast, but I found that this type really grows with exceptional speed, and it makes it a perfect choice for a hanging basket or just for a hanging plant on a shelf or something. And other than its fast growth rate, there are a couple of things that make the Baltic Blue Pothos stand out, and not just amongst the other varieties of pothos, but amongst all these different types of vining houseplants. First of all, the leaves of the Baltic Blue Pothos have fenestrations or cuts in the leaves like a Monstera does, and it looks similar to the mini Monstera or the Monstera adansonii, but what makes it really stand out amongst all these awesome plants is the color of the leaves. Like the name would suggest, the leaves, especially if you have them in good light, will have kind of a bluish hue to them. So they're not entirely blue, but kind of somewhere between dark green and dark blue, similar to the color of the Cebu Blue Pothos, which is another bluer kind of pothos, but that does not have fenestrated leaves. So these Baltic Blue Pothos, they grow really fast, and they also have these blue tinged fenestrated leaves that gives them, I think, a very elegant and beautiful look. So that is the Baltic Blue Pothos, and it is just a tremendous vining plant with a growth rate that you just can't beat. Next up, I'm going to show you a great fast growing indoor tree. There are so many great types of ficus trees, but there are maybe none better than the Audrey ficus, the Ficus bengalensis, also known as the banyan tree and the national tree of India, where it is considered sacred. The Audrey ficus is beautiful, and it is also quite fast growing. I was recently helping someone to revive their Audrey ficus that was all messed up and had lost almost all of its leaves. Within just like a month, it had totally leafed back out and was looking as good as new. Literally within 1 month, it went from looking pretty much dead to being full leaves and growing very quickly. So when they're healthy and in good light and in a big pot as well with very good quality soil, like the Fox Farm Happy Frog, which is what I always use, they can grow very fast. And the leaves of the Audrey ficus have an especially gorgeous dark shade of green that I really love. And so between that, how easy they are to take care of, and how fast they grow, the Audrey ficus is right up there with the best of them when it comes to indoor trees. The Audrey ficus does need to be in good light, especially if you want it to grow as fast as possible. So if you're looking for a fast growing indoor tree that you can keep in a really low light spot, I will show you a great one right now. Let's go. Next up, we are talking about the Napalm Mahogany, which is an awesome low light plant that I have only just heard about this year. I'm not sure if it's been available in America for a while or if it's relatively new, but I just heard about it recently and I have been very impressed by this plant. The Napalm Mahogany is a very tropical looking plant that has beautiful dark green leaves, grows well in low light areas indoors, and also grows very fast, even when it is in low light. The one I've been growing is constantly putting out new shoots of leaves, and the new growth also looks very cool. It has a very distinct look as compared to the other leaves. The new leaves are this very, they're a different shade of green that really stands out against the older leaves. And watching shoots of new leaves very consistently growing and unfurling all the time is just very fascinating, and it gives them a really cool look, and I really love these plants. The one I have is in quite low light, and it's been not only growing very fast, but I've been finding that it is also very easy to take care of. So that is the Napalm Mahogany, a plant that I have only recently heard of, but that is proving to be a very awesome plant, very fast growing, and a very great low light plant. But next, I'm going to show you a few of the best and fastest growing old school, time-tested, classic houseplants. So let's take a look at those right now. Definitely one of the all-time classics, the umbrella tree, or the Schefflera arboricola, is another great option if you're looking for a mid-sized tree or bush that you can grow large quickly. While I generally think of the umbrella tree as a low light plant, they can also be grown right by a window where they get bright indirect light or even an hour or two of direct sunlight. And when they're in a good bright spot, you can get them to grow very fast. If you have a relatively bright spot to put them in, and you routinely transplant them into bigger pots with good soil and fertilize them with a good organic fertilizer, then they will grow much faster than they regularly would in a low light spot. And if you don't fertilize your plants often, I would definitely recommend getting either some Fox Farm Grow Big or some of the Microlife Biomatrix. And just fertilize all your houseplants once a month or once every 6 weeks. And I think, that would be very helpful regardless of anything else we're talking about. I would recommend just always keeping that up. So the umbrella tree is an awesome pick for a fast growing houseplant that you can get either in a tree or a bush form and, let it grow big. And I just love the way that the leaves grow on the umbrella tree. They have a really unique shape and growth pattern, and I love the look of them, and I think it is definitely a plant that is a classic for a reason. Alright, so this next one is the money tree, or the Pachira aquatica, and it has a somewhat similar look to the last plant, the umbrella tree. It has a similar look, except the leaves are bigger and longer, and I think it actually even grows a bit faster than the umbrella tree. So I have seen money trees get huge over relatively short periods of time, and I have also seen damaged money trees that had lost almost all their leaves totally grow back and look as good as new within just a few weeks. So they're definitely very fast growing, especially if you have them in a good bright spot and fertilize them regularly. Overall, they're similar to the umbrella tree, both in appearance, care, and speed of growth. These are two classic houseplants for a reason, and two great options for fast growing houseplants. Next up, I'm going to show you a couple more houseplants that you can get to grow very fast if you have them in the right conditions. But there is a trick to achieving the right conditions, so let's get into that right now. Next up, we are talking about the Ponytail Palm. Now, if you have grown a Ponytail Palm inside before, you may be saying, hey, it really doesn't grow that fast. Why are you including this on the list? And while yes, generally they're not super fast growing, there is a trick to dramatically speeding up their growth. Ponytail palms are one of those rare houseplants that can actually take quite a bit of direct sunlight. So when we're growing them inside as houseplants, we're really not letting them achieve their full potential when it comes to how quickly they can grow to be very large plants. The trick to speeding up their growth is to put them outside in full sun every summer. After they've been inside for a while, you can't just put them directly into full sun. So for the first week or so, you'll want to slowly adjust them to more and more sunlight. So start off each day and just let them have an hour or two of direct sunlight. And then over time, slowly move them into a little more direct sunlight each day until they can take the full sun. Once they are adjusted to full sun and it starts to get really hot outside for the summer, you'll have to water them a lot more often and also fertilize them more often. But if you do this, they will start to grow much, much faster. If you start off with a relatively small ponytail palm, it'll be fairly big within just a few summers of doing this. Just make sure to bring them back inside once it starts to get down into the 40s at night in the fall. So that is the ponytail palm. That is the trick to get them to grow very fast. And next up, I'm going to show you another houseplant that you can also use the same trick to drastically speed up the growth. So in my last video, I talked about the Madagascar Palm because of how weird of a plant it is and just how odd looking it is. And it really certainly is a very strange and unique plant. And because of that, I of course love it. And I have one that I've been growing for about 2 years. I had been told that they could take a lot of sun when I got it, but I did not realize that it really can take all day, full hot sun, even down here where I live in Texas. Once I put it into full sun and I started watering it every day, it started growing like crazy. When I got it, it was in a 6-inch pot and it was probably about 6 inches tall as well. So after transplanting it up to bigger pots a couple times so far and keeping it outside in the sun for 2 summers now, it has grown to probably about 3.5 feet tall, and the stem has gotten incredibly thick too. So it's grown about 1.5 feet per year so far, and as it gets bigger and gets more leaves, this rate seems to only be speeding up, if anything. So just like with the ponytail palm, make sure you bring it inside for the fall once it starts getting into the 40s, and just put it inside near a window. It's normal for these guys to drop a lot of leaves in the winter once you bring them inside, but they're very large, long leaves, so they're easy to just pick up, they're easy to clean up, and it's not a big deal. But as soon as you put them back outside in the spring, they'll leaf back out right away. Okay, so now that I've showed you these couple of really interesting and really beautiful, fast-growing palm trees, let's get back to some stuff that will grow quickly year-round inside. I've got a few more great, fast-growing vining plants to show you. The mini monstera, or the Rhaphidophora tetrasperma, is one of the absolute best vining houseplants, and I think that is actually kind of underrated and overlooked when people are thinking of wanting a houseplant that will hang down or, will grow like a vine. I think that the mini monstera are just as easy to grow as pothos and also as fast growing as pothos. So there's no reason why they shouldn't be just as popular and as widely used as pothos are. I think that mini monstera are just more interesting than the average pothos because they have fenestrated leaves, and I think that just makes them more interesting and more exotic looking. I have one here that I'm trying to get to grow up my wall, and it was probably a foot long in the spring when I moved here, and now it's probably 5 feet long already. So they're incredibly fast growing, especially if you have them near a window. And 100% as easy as pothos when it comes to the care and when it comes to growing them. They are super easy and they're low maintenance, and just a great choice if you want a vining, fast-growing houseplant. And next up, let's look at another unique and beautiful vining houseplant. Alright, so when it comes to vining houseplants, another one that I think is underutilized and often underrated is the silver pothos, or the Syngonium. While they're not actually in the same family as pothos, they look and grow somewhat similar to pothos, so that is why the common name of the Syngonium is silver pothos. The most notable difference is that while pothos have white or yellow variegations, the variegation on the leaves of the Syngonium is a very bright, almost reflective, beautiful silver color that just covers the leaves in incredible patterns of dark green and silver. The contrast between the green and the silver is just stunning, and it makes the silver pothos one of the absolute best vining houseplants. And while there are many different great varieties of this plant, some of them do grow kind of slow. So if you're looking for the fastest growing of all the silver pothos, I've found that the fastest growing of them all are the small leaved varieties of the Syngonium pictus, which are called Silvery Ann and Argyrius. I'm not exactly sure of the pronunciation of that last one, but I think it's Argyrius, which is another type of the small-leaved pictus Syngonium. These types both grow incredibly fast, and they really seem to grow best when hanging, which makes them the perfect plant for growing in hanging baskets. All right, next up we are talking about Syngoniums. And honestly, when I think about it, they're another of these very underrated vines that are great to grow as houseplants. Everyone has a pothos or a monstera or a spider plant in a hanging basket, but Syngoniums are even cooler than any of these other plants, and they're not as well known. Syngoniums are also known as the arrowhead vine due to the shape of their leaves, which looks very similar to the leaves of an alocasia. Syngoniums, I think of them as they are basically alocasias if alocasias grew like a vine. The leaves really are that similar. And there are tons of different types of Syngoniums with different colors, patterns, and variegations. Some of the pink and green varieties are very interesting looking, And some of the rarer variegated types are just absolutely breathtaking. The Albo Syngonium, which is the white variegated one, has become one of my favorite houseplants recently. They are not just really unique and cool in how they look and how they grow, but they're very easy to take care of and they grow very fast. They seem to prefer growing upwards and will grow quickest if they're on a moss pole or at least growing up on a string or a bamboo stake or something, something like that. There are so many great, fast growing, colorful, and just beautiful looking varieties of Syngoniums that I just cannot recommend them enough. So that is a Syngonium. That is the first 10 things on the list. So we are now to the last fast growing houseplant, number 11. And I have saved something awesome for the end here. So let's take a look at it right now. All right, my people, we have gotten to the end of the list, and as promised, I saved a truly amazing plant for last, Aloe Vera, which is another classic plant that's been grown for thousands of years by people all around the world. I think, though, that most people who are growing aloe vera, they don't realize the full potential of this plant and the many, many uses that it has. First of all, aloe vera is very good for your skin. It helps the skin to retain moisture, helps prevent wrinkles, and also increases collagen production. It's also very good for your hair. It's very effective at treating sunburn. Here in Texas, where I live, it's extremely useful for that reason, and I've always got some growing in case I have a sunburn. Right after you get a sunburn, if you put aloe vera on, it will help drastically. Aloe vera is also edible, and it has a variety of medicinal benefits if eaten. So if you ever make smoothies or shakes, aloe is a great thing to consider adding. Aloe vera has anti-inflammatory properties. It can help to promote weight loss, can help lower blood sugar levels and help to treat diabetes. It can help to reduce dental plaque and just a number of other uses. So needless to say, it has got a large number of medicinal uses, but let's not forget what we're talking about here, what this video is about. Aloe vera is also very fast growing, and if you've ever grown one, you know what I'm talking about. After a year or two of growing an aloe, it always starts to get so big that it's coming right out of the pot and it's just hanging down off the side. That seems to be what always happens. So you can divide them up and have several aloe plants at that point, or you can just transplant it into a larger pot and have a huge aloe plant. Either way, the plant is beautiful, it has tons of different uses, and it grows exceptionally fast. Aloe vera is an incredible plant that I think is sometimes overlooked, and when it comes to fast growing houseplants, there is nothing better than aloe vera. So that is it, my people. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it so much. I love you guys, and I'll be back very soon. Thank you, guys.